All right, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Cricket. Great to have you on here, mate. Michael Hussey, how you doing?
Thanks for having me, Uzi. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, mate.
Look, I've always just wondered why did you give yourself the nickname Mr. Cricket? It didn't like it doesn't really make too much sense to me, but you obviously love it. What's going on?
Yeah, thanks, Uzi. Yeah, you like to wind me up about that. That's not the truth. I guess you could be called a lot worse things. And I think Jason Gillespie used to call me Kermit the Frog and things like that. So, I thought like I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it up. And
Kermit
so I
the
thought,
Frog?
well, let's just,
I haven't
yeah,
heard
I've
that one.
got, you haven't heard that one? Oh, I've got a really short body and really long legs. So I look a bit like Kermit the Frog. So, Dizzy,
Harsh.
in
That's
his
harsh from Dizzy. That's stiff. You could have copped it from all the other people. That's stiff from Diz.
well, we were calling him the Brains Trust, because he doesn't have any. So we deserve to cop a bit back, but no, yeah. But no,
Fair
Mr.
enough.
Cricket started in England, mate, playing county cricket, and it was a cold, wet, miserable day in at Old Trafford. I was playing for Durham. We were playing against Lancashire, and no one wanted to be there. It was one of those drizzly, cold,
Yeah, fair
miserable
enough
days, and
too. So cold.
you wouldn't have enjoyed it with the
I,
cold
I
there,
don't
mate.
enjoy the
But
cold. You know this.
I was loving it. I was out there running hard between the wickets,
Shock
calling
me.
loud. Yeah, engaged in every ball. And Freddie Flintoff was playing for Lancashire, and he turned to Brad Hodge, who was the overseas player at that time, and said, "Who the heck is this guy? This guy loves cricket more than anyone I've seen. He must be Mr. Cricket."
I got a question. Like everyone, we all cricketers, we all love rain days, right? We do love rain days, especially in county cricket when you have to play 16 games in a year. Then you're playing, more one days and T20s, and it's just game, travel, game, travel, travel. Did
Yeah.
you, the Mr. Cricket, ever think, oh yeah, okay, I could do it, could do a little break today, I could do a little rain day off.
Uh, I do love cricket, I must admit, but I must also confess that by the end of the county season, when you get to September, you've been going since April, and you know what it's like. You're playing 6 days a week, traveling all around the country. Even I, on a morning, would wake up and just sort of open the curtains, praying for a little bit of rain. But you'd see the bright sunshine and think, oh gosh, we've got to go out
Uh,
there and do it again. But it does wear you down after a while in that county
yeah.
season for sure.
In Derbyshire, my first year, we talked about rain so much. It was a packed season, right? Like typical county season. The guys would every day come in. It's like, oh, there's a bit of rain coming in today, and they were talking, and the coach got fed up. The coach was like, we cannot talk about rain anymore. No more rain talk. So
Mate, they
the
are the
guys had to
weather
give it a
experts over
nickname.
there.
Yeah, the guys had to give it a nickname. So we started calling. I think it was like Phil or was it Derek? It was like, is Phil coming in today? He's like, nah, no Phil
Yeah.
today. And then the next day, we're like, oh, Phil's coming in. What time? It's like, oh, 10 o'clock. Oh, really? How long is he staying for? The whole day. He's like, oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the English love the weather report more than anyone,
They
any
do.
other
And
country
they're
in
the
the world,
worst
I
in the
must
world,
admit.
I reckon. They're the worst weather reports in the world.
Yeah. Good
All right,
times.
to the serious stuff. I actually want to ask you about the Australian cricket team at the moment. T20 stuff. You are a T20 connoisseur, expert, obviously with the IPL, which I'll get onto later. But we've lost 7 games now. I think out of maybe 9, possibly. We've lost the first 2 in Bangladesh. The guys are struggling. Obviously, Finchie, Smudger, Warner, Stoinis, Maxwell. A lot of big names not there. Um, my question is, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the whole situation at the moment?
Yeah, well, I guess you've listed all those fantastic players that aren't in the team at the moment, and so you take the 5, 6, 7 best players out of any team, and it's going to be. I would say that the positive side of things, it does give opportunities for other guys to get a game, and the other positive for these guys and their cricket education is they're getting to play in conditions that are quite foreign to what they're used to. Playing in the West Indies, can be challenging at times on their pitches, but now also being in Bangladesh, some of these guys wouldn't have played in these conditions at all, and it's tough. Well, you know what it's like yourself. The first couple of times you go to the subcontinent to try and play, you got no chance.
Horrible.
But you can learn from those experiences and come back a better player. And so for their education, I think it's fantastic. It's probably not ideal preparation leading into a T20 World Cup, and it's a hard one because for me personally, I think seeing these guys pulling out of the Australian tours doesn't 100% sit right with me because playing for Australia should be the pinnacle and should take priority over everything. But it's a different world at the moment as well. These guys have been in bubbles for a long period of time, and it does wear you down after a while. Just going from one bubble to the next, it does get quite challenging mentally, and I appreciate you need some time away from that. But so it's going to be interesting to see if some of these guys go back to the IPL, which, if I'm being completely honest, doesn't sit 100% right with me. Because
I think, could it? I don't think it could now, could it?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Look,
you can look at it two ways. I don't like the idea of a player choosing, say, maybe to play in a domestic league over playing for Australia. That doesn't sit right with me. I think playing for Australia should be the number one.
But they need to be playing.
Having said that, the T20 World Cup is going to be in the UAE, and the IPL is going to be finished in the UAE. It might actually, on this occasion, be good preparation for these guys leading into it.
Yeah, I totally get that too. But don't you feel like sometimes the team camaraderie, what you get out of playing together, understanding, batting with the guy at the other end, understanding how he works, how he ticks, what bowlers he likes to take down. I mean, that kind of stuff is invaluable. That's probably where they're missing out at this stage. There's 10 games to be had in T20. And you're pretty much going to have a new team coming into the World Cup.
I totally agree. And I'm a huge believer in that continuity. As you say, getting the chemistry right. Just sometimes when a team's been playing together, they don't even sometimes need a call. You just need a look. Oh, yeah, I know he's coming, or I know he's not going to run here. And that takes time to develop. So I think that's definitely a negative for the Aussies leading into that T20 World Cup. That they've been trying to find the right combination for a couple of years now, particularly in that middle order, searching for some finishers to come in and do that role. So, it's probably not the ideal preparation leading in, but you never know. Hope there's some great players there for a few years now, and that's been one of the strengths of the CSK team. Is having that continuity and sticking with a group of players for a long period of time and building that chemistry.
I do agree with that. I'll come to CSK because one of my favorite players in that team too. But just going back to what you were talking about earlier with the guys right now in Bangladesh, I think, do you reckon, or do you agree, feel free to disagree, it shows that, these guys that are playing right now in the Australian team, they're great. They're awesome cricketers. They obviously perform really well in the Big Bash. Some of the guys you wouldn't say they're young either. They've been guys like Moses and Wadey. Guys have played a lot of cricket and obviously star performers throughout their career. But you actually never get a hold of international cricket until you go out and do it. Like you said, the first and second time, it's more like you're learning. You're trying to figure out. Very rarely do you go out the first time. So do you think international cricket is actually, it's not as much, obviously the skill set's important, but it's also the big thing is learning the conditions, having those experiences. And then when you come back again, that's when you can rely on those experiences, where we're finding out right now, the guys can't really do it, even though the older guys are still there. They've played a lot at home and not so much away. And that's where it's sort of struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I think what it's making clear to me is that there is a pretty big jump from playing domestic cricket, say in the Big Bash, and dominating and doing well in conditions that you know so well, to going into international cricket, foreign conditions. It's tough. It's not easy. And I must admit, I'm a commentator now on the game as well. I do get sometimes a little frustrated when commentators start shooting their mouth off saying, this guy's got to get picked for Australia. He's got to do this. And he might have done well for half a season or maybe one season. And the pundits are pushing them saying they've got to get this guy in the Aussie team. It's like, well, just hang on a second.
Just chill.
It's not that it's not that easy. Let the player develop. Let him grow his game. Let him understand his game a little bit more before exposing him to the international cricket, which is so challenging, and we're seeing that now. But as I said earlier, great education for these guys.
I guess exactly what you're saying. The form sort of goes up and down, I've always found in cricket. Like, that's why you can't really pick on someone who's scoring runs for like 6 months. Just look at what he's been doing for 3 years, or not what someone's been doing for the last 6 months. Maybe he might have taken a truckload of wickets in 6 months, but what have they done actually in the last couple of years to an extent? I feel like at times we do get caught up in the whole form stuff a fair bit. That's what I feel, honestly. I hear the same thing from commentators. I'm like, just chill. Let's just see what happens over a longer period of time.
Yeah, no, form is a funny thing. You even know it as a player, I'm sure. I've had experiences myself where I feel like I'm batting really well. I'm batting well on the nets. I'm preparing well. But for whatever reason, you nick one, you get a couple of bad decisions, you get run out a couple of times. You just can't put a score on the board. And then they've had other times where I feel like I'm actually really struggling mentally. Technically, something's not quite right, but you seem to scratch together 60s and 70s and runs. So I don't look into form as much. I like to see a body of work over a period of time. And you know, form is temporary and class is permanent. And once you see a guy perform over a long period of time, go through the ups and downs, they're learning about their game, they're learning about themselves. I think that's the time when you can start promoting these guys to the next sort of level. But yeah, I never like to sort of, you know, jump on the form bandwagon too quickly on a player. Yeah.
I was going to ask you this a little bit later, but it's a perfect time to ask you now because you're a guy who averaged 50 in Test match cricket. You pretty much average. I think you average close to 50 in ODI cricket. You almost averaged, I think, maybe 40 in T20 cricket. You're an unbelievable batsman, unbelievable scorer. But I've played cricket with you. Even I know that you found the game tough. And then, you know, you've had similar feelings to what everyone else has, the ups and downs, which you just mentioned. Cricket is a hard game. I just want the great man to tell me, to convey to the viewers that, you know, even someone like yourself can have tough times. And are there any tough times that you actually like remember that stick out to you?
Oh, without doubt, mate. You know, you're right. It's such a hard game. And I was quite fortunate in a way that I didn't get picked for Australia until I was about 30 years of age. I played a one-day game when I was 29, but my first test was when I was 30. So I'd had a decade of first-class cricket to go through so many ups and downs, to learn about myself as a player, learn about myself as a person, to see how I play best. If I get halfway through that 10-year journey, I had a period in the middle there where I was really struggling. I was desperately trying to get in that Australian team. I wanted it so bad, and I felt like I was close, but I was trying so hard, and I wanted it so bad. I was putting pressure on myself. But I was trying to bat like the Australian players because my game was based around patience, batting all day, working the ball, running hard between the wickets. That's how I played my best cricket. But I looked at the Australian team at that stage, and there was guys like Hayden, Ponting, Gilchrist, even JL. You know, he was a bit of a dour player to start his career, but he started blazing as well. So I thought, that's what the national selectors want. So I'd started trying to play like a Matty Hayden or a Ricky Ponting. And of course, silly mistake. It had a huge detrimental effect on my performance. I was very inconsistent. Actually ended up getting dropped from the WA team. And looking back on it now, it was probably one of the best things that could happen to me. At the time, I was absolutely devastated. You know, I was just shattered. But it made me sort of go away and think, well, you know what? Let's just stop trying to play for Australia. You know, like it's not going to happen now. I'm not going to get picked because I can't even get a game for WA. But what I want to do, I'm going to go back just to playing my way. I'm going to play my game. I'm going to enjoy the game again. I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself. I'm going to be happy for my teammates. I'm just going to, you know, you can still be proud of playing a 10-year first-class career for your
100%.
state.
Yep.
And it was amazing. As soon as I made that shift and went back to playing my way, become a lot more consistent. And funny enough, that's when I got picked to play for Australia. But I had to go through that process to get to figure out how I play my best cricket. And that was the challenge for me then. Once I got picked for Australia, saying, okay, this is how I play my best. I've got to just stick to what I do best to give myself the best chance of playing well for Australia. And I would have loved an opportunity to get picked for Australia earlier as a younger player. And I've seen a lot of young players come in, but unfortunately, a lot of these young players, they might come in and have an impact for a little while, but they're still trying to figure out their game and how they play their best cricket. Yep. And so quite often you see them be a bit inconsistent and get dropped, go back to their states for a few years, and then hopefully in a few years come back a better player again. So, you know, it was a long journey to get there, but I had a better chance of having a consistent career, I guess, once I got to international cricket, because at least I had a good understanding about my game and how I played my best cricket. Now, there's still a jump, you know, dealing with all the external stuff, like different conditions that you've been speaking about earlier, more media involved, commentators analysing your technique for the
You
nth
see yourself
degree.
get out 20 times on the big screen of the day. Just keep replaying
exactly. And you can't prepare for that. But, I still had to deal with that side of things, but at least I knew my game.
Yeah. I remember the time when I was about to debut, you were kind of struggling to score runs at that time. And actually, I remember the media talking about, oh, Mark Hussey, they should replace him with Usman. I genuinely at the time I was like, oh no, please don't do that. Like, number one, I could not take over Huss, and two, I love the guy. I actually remember giving you like little throwdowns. I was 13 or 12th man. I was substitute reserve. I think Pup's back was sore, Watto's hamstring. Someone was sore at the Gabba. And I gave you throwdowns in the morning. I wasn't playing. You hit him. And I remember saying to you, good luck, Huss, go well. And you're like, thanks, mate. And then later on, I was thinking, he probably thought that little shit. He didn't even mean that. He was probably just saying it for no reason. But I actually really did mean it. So you came out and you scored 200 that second innings. But did you draw back on those times where you thought, the experiences that you had that you struggle with to get through that time? Because I remember the game before you got 100 for WA. You might have got ducked the first innings and you really had a lot of pressure on you, but you came out like an absolute champion that season and you never looked back until your retirement.
I remember that time vividly. And you talk about that. I was playing a Shield game leading up to the first test in Melbourne, and you guys were playing an Australia A game against England down in Hobart. And for some reason, we had the commentary on in the dressing room, and I'd got a duck in the first innings. And the previous Shield game, I got a duck and won, and I could hear Michael Slater talking, and he was saying, yeah, it's time for Hussey to go. He's too old. It's time to blood. Let's get Khawaja in there. Let's get Callum Ferguson in there. 2 young players, give them some exposure. And I remember just listening and thinking, stuff you, Slates. Stuff you mongrel, Anyway, coming in, that was one of those times when I actually felt like I was batting really well, but I just was finding ways to get out. It was ridiculous. Thankfully, I got runs in the second innings in Melbourne and managed to keep my place in the squad for that first test match. And I remember going out to bat, and this is where the game can be so fickle. So the very first ball that I was facing Stephen Finn, and we were in a little bit of trouble, and I went for a straight drive first ball, nicked it, and it landed literally, I reckon, 1 or 2 centimetres short of second slip. And that was a bit of a sliding doors moment, because if that had been taken, I'm sure the media and everyone would have been on my back again. Hussey's got to go. First ball duck, but I survived, and I managed to go on and get a big score, and that probably saved my career at that stage. But I must admit, I used Michael Slater every single ball throughout that innings. Every single time I tapped the bat, I said, "Stuff you, Michael Slater." and I don't normally like to use external things as motivation, because I don't believe in external motivation. I think motivation comes from within. Yeah. But I must admit, on that particular innings, he did get under my skin a little bit, and I was pretty determined to prove him wrong.
That's hilarious, bloody Slats. Have you told Slats that?
I have told him on a number of occasions, and he hates me bringing up this story.
Very good. You or Maurice? I reckon Maurice would tell him that.
Probably. Yeah, I don't even know who Maurice is anymore.
Going back to, you were talking about CSK and the IPL obviously got postponed. You got COVID. You feeling okay from there now? Because I read on the news. I was like, oh crap! I remember texting you, but you got through it all right.
Yeah, well, it was a strange period of my life, I must admit. You don't want to get it. I promise you.
Fair enough.
It does knock you around a bit. If I'm being honest, I didn't feel like my life was threatened. I wasn't struggling with breathing or anything like that. But it knocks you around. I had a pretty bad fever for a few days. I had a bad cough. I felt like I had a really bad head cold, and just fatigued, really tired, and I was pretty much locked up in my room for a good couple of weeks to get over that, and then I had to do 2 weeks quarantine back in Australia once I got home. So it was about a month in quarantine to get pretty much full over it. So yeah, it was a tough time.
That was a tough time, but you're going back. You're going back in about a month's time.
Yeah, we're going back to try and finish the tournament. Looking forward to this time. It'll be in the UAE. It's not going to be in India. But yeah, looking forward to catching up with the guys again.
Lovely. He's my man, one of my favorite players. I actually got to play with him in Pune, that everyone loves in India. The big man, Dhoni. he's a legend. I'm sure you feel the same way. I actually love playing. He was so relaxed. You know me, I'm a relaxed candidate myself, but he kept things real simple. The way he went about it, I still remember he had his room open every night. Like you could walk past and his door would always be open. I didn't know whether I was allowed in at the start. I'd be like, hey, mate. He's like, hey. And I was like waiting for him. He's like, you want to come in? I was like, yeah, sure. So I like come in and they'd be there chatting. And then I'd come in. Like after that, I'd be in there all the time. But he was actually a very good teammate. And I actually loved playing with him. All of India loves him. I'm sure you enjoy, being a coach and him being there too.
Yeah, I endorse those sentiments exactly. He's an amazing man. That's just the way he views cricket, the way he views successful environments, the environment that he creates as being the leader of the team is just absolutely incredible. And particularly in an Indian tournament where you know how cricket mad Indians are, he's got this wonderful ability to help players relax and take pressure off them, and just to go out there and play the game, to enjoy the game. And, he's quite open. He'll say, some days we'll win, some days we'll lose. It's no problem. Just go out there, smile, enjoy the game, execute your skills as best you can. I think I've seen him get angry twice, and I've been in and around the team for about, just over a decade now. And just the way he views the game, watching him as captain, you'd be saying, what is he doing? What crazy move is he making here? And 9 times out of 10, it'll come off. He's just got an amazing way about him, and an amazing way of viewing the game. So I really admire the guy, particularly in India, where he's obviously a superstar. He can't even leave the hotel without getting mobbed by millions of people.
He doesn't.
Yeah, well, he can't. But he's still so humble and down to earth, and the way he would treat the waiter at the restaurant to the biggest, Sachin Tendulkar or someone like that is exactly the same. He's just a down to earth, kind, natured guy, and I love him as well.
he's very inventive. He was one of the first people I saw actually hit a ball like near the end, like with 2 overs left, and he didn't take a single. He just said, no, I don't back you to get more runs than I would if I take that stop ball. I'm just going to stay here. Another single. You're like, what are you doing? And then you go 4. Yeah. See, like he has the ability, but he's the first person I saw do that. And, back in the day, it was all like, take as many runs as you can. You hit a single. It doesn't matter if it's a tail ender. You just run.
I was amazed at how calculating he actually is at the back end of those innings. And he's got it mapped out. So he loves to take the game right to the very last over. And we want to finish it as quickly as we can. Just finish it. He goes, no, just relax. A few times I'd be batting with him and I'd be panicking a bit. The run rate's getting up a bit too high. And I said, I've got to take this guy. And he's like, you don't need to take this guy. Just keep playing. They've got to bowl this guy. They've got to bowl this guy. They don't know where to bowl to us. So we can get 20 off and over for each of these guys. And I'm like, okay. So he was calming me down as well. So he's very calculating towards the end and keeps his cool. He used to always say, he who panics last will win. And so everyone talks about Captain Cool, and he was so cool and calm under pressure, and he'd take it as long as he could.
Yeah, he is. And that's what I loved about him. Speaking of India, in terms of they're obviously playing against England right now, it's probably the one place where they struggled more than anywhere. We talked about Australia earlier. Do you reckon they're a chance to win this series? They're doing well in the first match.
Yeah, good start. I haven't seen much of it. It's been on a bit too late, but I didn't see, but I heard Kohli was out first.
It was an absolute rich order. It was a beautiful
absolute jaffa.
It was a Jimmy Anderson special.
Yeah, it's going to be a great series. I think in India's favour is that it's sort of coming to the second half of the English season. If it was the first half of the English season when the pitches can be a little bit spicy, I think the Indians would battle a bit. But if I don't know what it's been like over there, but if it's been a dry summer and the pitches can flatten out a bit and it can perhaps take a bit of turn, then maybe India have got a good chance. But if England keep the pitches with a little bit of moisture in there and that ball moving around, it's going to be tough. But I think it's going to be a fantastic series. I really do, because you can't underestimate the Indian seam attack either. So England need to be careful. They can't afford to make it too green and seamer friendly either, because if you've got to face those Indian seamers, you're going to be in trouble as well.
I think if there's any time they can win, it's this time, especially with that England batting lineup's a little bit unsettled at the moment. Some young guys in there, you can tell they're feeling their way. Lawrence, a couple other guys. We've all been there. We know the feeling. It's not easy to come out of it either. So I think if there's going to be any time for them to win, I reckon it's going to be this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's going to be a fascinating series to watch.
Huss, you've been awesome so far, man. I didn't really want to chat too long for you, keep my viewers waiting too long. But one last question I'll finish on, and I like to ask everyone this, even when I do my podcasting stuff, is, if you can tell me one thing maybe that you can pinpoint, even a couple of things that you think you talking to a young fella, telling him what to do, or a girl, young boy or girl, about cricket or sport that made you successful. Can you tell me that? Can you relay that information to me and tell me, can you pinpoint any one thing that made Mike Hussey Mike Hussey?
I'll do my best. Uzi, I think I think well, initially you need to have a great work ethic. If you want to be successful in whatever you do in life, you need to work at it. And look, I didn't see playing cricket as work or training for cricket as work. I just loved it. So lucky enough to find a passion and then just really enjoy working with it. I think the one thing that probably held me back was I put too much pressure on myself. I really wish I could relax a lot more and enjoy the process, enjoy the journey a lot more, rather than wanting it too much. I can even feel myself now just tensing up. And even as a batsman, I know if you're tense, you don't move quickly into position. You don't get into the right position. You're not, mind's not thinking clearly. When you're relaxed and you're supple, you can move into the correct positions quickly. Your mind's clear, you can make the best decisions, and you can react a lot quicker than when you're tense and putting pressure on yourself. So some people would argue, well, maybe you wouldn't have been as driven as you were if you were more relaxed, but I don't buy into that, because I feel like I could have been a better player earlier is if I had the ability to take pressure off myself, just to enjoy it, enjoy the journey, still work very, very hard. Obviously, you have to do that. But yeah, that putting too much pressure on yourself can only be a detrimental thing to your performance. So they're probably things. And then I guess the last part of it for me that stands out was figuring out what your best looks like and feels like. And that might take some time. You need to go through the ups and downs. You need to, I guess, try different things out to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. But I see too many players and too many teams, when things are going wrong, we just keep focusing on, I'm hopeless at this, I can't do this, we're not good at that. And you're focusing on all the negatives, and you just keep putting all those negatives into your head. Whereas we should be analysing things when we do really well. It's quite easy sometimes, I had a great day, and you go off and enjoy it or whatever. That's the time to analyse. Why am I playing so well? What did I do? How did I prepare? Why did I play so well today? And then keep trying to ingrain those into your mind, because everyone's going to have ups and down periods. And if you're having a bit of a down period, say, okay, well, what did I do when I was playing really, really well? Oh yeah, that's right. I do this, and this. Okay, well, let's get back onto doing those. And already you're getting yourself into a better frame of mind to go out there and play your best cricket. So yeah, for me, I think, analyse things when you're going really, really well. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just find your passion and just work as hard as you can at it. They're probably my three things.
Oh, I love it. I relate to it so much. And I think a lot of cricketers could relate to that so much, especially the older you get, the more you learn about yourself. I wish I could do the same at a younger age too, but it's all about it. No, Mr. Cricket, as you call yourself, thanks a lot. You're awesome, mate. Good luck in the IPL. Hope things go a bit more smoothly this time for you. And thanks for chatting with me.
No, thanks for having me on, Uzi. And I've got to say, I've always been a big fan of you as well, mate. I loved playing with you for Australia and the Sydney Thunder. And a lot of people, they would have seen you as this beautiful classical batsman, which I love as well. But you've also got a wonderful sense of humour. And I've thoroughly enjoyed your company over the years, because you always make me laugh. And that's what I love about you as well.
Thanks, Huss. That's too nice. Love you, brother. Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Good on you, Huss.